Evening. I hope everybody's doing just groovy tonight. I'm here working on part 3 of painting 4 from my dream series of a dream I had when my husband first got cancer. Just that was brought me back to our early days, showing our roots and where we came from, where our love grew. And we used to go on long walks in the evening, and this is just sort of little glimpses of us going around town and walking. I lost my husband and my mom this past spring. My husband on Easter and my mom 2 months later on my anniversary. And I'm trying to work my way out of this grief and figure out how it fits into my life. And I wanted to come out a more positive place, because grief is part of life, and there's some moments where it's going to hit you like a wave, and other moments where it's going to be sort of more like a calm sea. And it's sort of like these kitties that run around here while I'm painting. Sometimes they just sit there and watch, and other times they're knocking things over. In the last video, it ended, number 7 bulldozed into my palette, and it went all over the place. But it turned out to be a good thing, because I really have been burning the candle at both ends, just because I'm pushing myself to do certain things, which I need to. Okay, so I just need to find the balance. But I've been sort of reverting back to my pre-child days, like when I didn't have, the only schedule I had to follow was going to work. But, I would stay up late and just paint, and so I've been staying up real late, but I got to get up early. 2 reasons. One, I feed animals in the morning, and 2, well, some of those animals I feed feral cats outside of my house, and it's just everybody's ready. They're used to getting fed around 7 o'clock, between 6:30 and 7, and I just like to keep them on their schedule. I got the cats, and then I feed the dogs, and then I got just a couple chickens left over, and I like to I get them all fed, and usually I follow that with Tai Chi. Although I will say the past few days that's been all wonky. I've actually skipped a couple days on that. I did a couple other little exercise things, but not the Tai Chi, which to me that's very important. It's like meditation. It grounds me. And so I've just been off. I've been sick. And just my schedule's been off, and then I watch my grandbabies a few days a week, which I love, and I want to enjoy that time. So, but I seem to do my best job painting late at night. That's just how I've always been. When everybody goes to sleep and things are quiet, and it's just, I'm in my own world. And so I end up doing that when I'm staying up painting, which I find very important, because I just started this series last week, and I'm already, I don't know, makes me proud that I've accomplished it. I can't explain it. It's just, I'm pushing myself forward. And I don't know, when I go to look at the pictures, they make me happy. Okay? They bring me back to a time, but it's also, I don't know, when there's sad things or pain, I don't know, these pictures remind me that every single step was worth it. Every single one. It was a balance, and it was, and you got to remember that about life too. I realize how precious time is right now, and so I have to push myself to get this artwork out there. I have spent the majority of my adulthood painting for what I think people want me to paint. And I think it's made me, I just need to do something that, for me. And I love doing things for other people, and that's my problem. I sometimes prioritize that. And sometimes that's necessary. Like when my husband was going through cancer, he needed someone who prioritized that. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I hope everybody who goes through that has somebody at their side to help them and guide them and be there for them to lean on and to watch out for them. But that's what a relationship should be anyway. And it's something that builds over time. And we certainly did. We grew with time. And it's just hard to process life without him being here. And sometimes it's just way overwhelming. Way overwhelming. But I'm going to get myself out of this. I will always appreciate him. I will always love him. That will never stop. And I'll probably cry about how much I love him until I get to see him again. But that doesn't mean that I can't still do awesome, amazing things and grow and do things that I want to do and accomplish. That just is part of it. And so I think it's really important because these images are just swimming in my head, and it's like in meditation. If you're sad, if you feel like you need to cry, cry. Because if you're just holding it in, it's stuck there. Like a dam. And I'll tell you, no matter what, it'll come out eventually. Because, just like with a dam, water's going to find a new place to go. Well, it's the same thing with those emotions. So you have to, release the pressure. And it makes it so much easier to not get flustered and that you can move forward. It doesn't matter if you're crying as long as you're moving forward. Okay? You just gotta make those steps. You gotta force yourself. It's hard, believe me, it's hard. And there's some days, and it doesn't have to be gigantic leaps even. It can be micro steps. You just want to see progression. You want to be moving forward. And that's what I've been doing. When it started, even before he passed, when he was in hospice. First thing I did was I started writing in a journal again. And that was really because so much was happening. And we were going from, palliative care, which we had been doing the past, year and a half, and also doing other treatments, chemo and immunotherapy, and you name it. And to suddenly people are saying to you, like you go to the hospital and they suddenly send someone over from hospice, and it's like it's not even a warning. And you push it away. You go, nope. You are not welcome. It's like the Grim Reaper standing at your door. Sit there trying to take someone away you love. But you have to process that. You gotta take a deep breath. And you gotta say, okay, I gotta deal with this. This is a real thing. We have to have this discussion before you can't have this discussion. But I still had to have him realize that. And he did. We were always good about that. We always talked. He was like my home base. My other half. So that's why I'm doing this. I need to get these emotions out. Because if not, they're just building in my head like a giant wave, ready to hit me and knock me down. And I don't want to do that. I want to ride that wave. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to turn it into art. And that way, it's there. I've made it. Funny thing is, before I started teaching art, which I taught at one of those places that you do 2-hour classes and you complete a painting, 2 to 3 hours, depends. Now at art studio, people could always come back if they needed to work on their painting. There was always a time, it's an option to do that, so which was always groovy. But usually the people completed the painting within that time frame, and that's what the paintings were made for. But it was kind of a strange concept for me because I was very good at having like 50 projects going on, and the completion one was like definitely the smaller percentage of that. I always had a lot more going on, but completed things not as much. But when I worked there, I had to not only walk all these people through a painting, and I had to sit there and make them understand and get them through and make them be brave enough to do that, because it could be daunting. They don't realize how everything's fixable. And I would walk them through this painting in 2 hours, so I had to break the paintings down in my head to make it work in that time frame too. So you have to push people along. People like to linger, and you sort of have to say, hey, I'm gonna move on at this stage, but if you need to still work on it, that's cool. Just stop and pay attention to what I'm doing, and you can always ask questions later. But that taught me something, right? It taught me the importance of completing things. It doesn't mean I can't go back and do things better. It even is with these videos, right? I'm not quite sure what it is I'm getting from it. It definitely allows me a time to ramble, which I'm sure uh, I always feel bad about rambling on too much to my family. So either someone's listening on here or nobody, but whatever, it gives me a venue to do that. And it allows me to vent and just whatever, go on my tangent. Which I guess is helpful. And I kind of think of it as my own personal art therapy. But just like the goal of painting every day, and that's not a painting every day, that's just painting every day. Like this one took 3 times, which like I said earlier, I was kind of happy the cat knocked into my palette because I was really tired that night and I wasn't going to go sleep because I'm thinking I'm going to finish this picture. And I was like, whatever, 38 minutes in, I can't remember, something like that. And because that happened, I went, nope, I'm closing up shop for the night. I'll finish up tomorrow. And it ended up taking me another 52 minutes because this is the 3rd section of painting 4. And I was shocked, right? But sometimes you don't know. Some paintings I could do really, really fast. And other paintings, there's just a little bit more to it. Those little lights seem to take a lot of times because there's actually multiple layers on that. And just little, I don't know. Sometimes you get lost in it. It's a nice thing. That's a place where I can go and sort of get meditative. And that's why I actually don't talk, why I am actually doing the paintings. Because I just need to get lost in them. It's just important. That's part of me painting every day is like me going to my Zen place and sort of capturing that energy, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to capture those energies, those little moments of time, and they're like fingerprints on the world. Fingerprints of our love. But it's painting. Even before I started doing these, when I was in the hospital with my husband, I often would be sitting there and I'd have paint pens, sitting there drawing stuff in my books, usually whatever, some sort of fanciful thing or whatever, just having fun with it, because I didn't want to think, I just wanted to play with it, and I'll probably put them on a short loop or something, so I'll put them out there. I haven't put them out there yet, but... And then I have some other ones that I did that were ones that I did on my tablet, because when we were sitting in chemo, I always had the tablet, because I would, often he would end up falling asleep, and I was sitting right next to him. We were there hours. We were there from the morning to later in the afternoon, and so often I'd end up watching movies or whatever, but I'd also do stuff on my palette. I did these sort of line drawings of, sometimes not always, just moments at the hospital or during treatment. I guess that was my art therapy then too. But they're just black and white, and they're line drawings. And I'll probably put them out there at some point in time. It's part of it. But it's something you're trying to capture. I don't know. There was I think it was Red Wallace and his first wife. Before they took her body, he painted her. He just wanted to capture her one last time. And he knew that was the last time he was going to be able to capture her. Sorry, I got this kitten climbing up on me. I got distracted there for a second. She sits there on my knee and stares at me with these little lovey-dovey eyes, just looking at me like, I don't know, that she constantly wants to be pet. She's very sweet. It's the little girl. She's the tabby with the white markings. I don't know if she was in this video or not. I never know when they're going to walk by or crash into me. They keep me on my toes. But I like having them around. They're good little babies. And they were getting big. They were so small when we first got them. And it's just... We got them in the beginning of June. Probably the second week of June we got them. And they have just gotten so big. So that's 7. It just was climbing on there. And he's the biggest of the 3. But they are so sweet. And his fur is so soft. It's just like super soft compared to the other 2 girls. He's got nice fur. But these guys are going to be getting bigger. If they get any bigger, I'm going to have to get a bigger table to work on, because they climb around. They're going to knock stuff off even more. So we'll see about that. I just always sort of do a makeshift space. That's just how I work. But I think I will have to make a little bit bigger space so that I can function with these little guys running around. But that's okay. I am flexible. I like having them around. They don't do too much damage. A little, though. They were like little crazy people last night when I was trying to go to sleep. Of course, I wasn't going to sleep till, after 2. And they're just like, decide that that's like the time to party. And they just run around like a little maniac. Sometimes I put them in there. I have a little like tent thing. It's not small. It's got a litter box in it. It's got a nice little bed thing in it, and their food, and water, so they can go in that little tent thing and not make too much mischief at night. But they were being all cute and wanted to stay out, so I let them stay out. But I paid the price because they were crazy for a while before they finally fell asleep, which did not help me fall asleep. And then I was up at 7. Actually 6:30. So, got up, fed the animals, blah, blah, blah. And then my grandbabies came over. And we'll watch them today. And which, like I said, I'll take all those moments with my grandbabies, because I know as they get older, those become fewer and fewer. So I'll take them in, and they're cuties right now. They'll be awesome later too, I'm sure. Just like my kids, Vince and I both. We really loved them when they were babies. It's like every stage they were in was their best stage. It didn't matter. As they grew, when they were newborns was the best stage that you wanted them to be in. And, when they're like crawling around, that's the best stage. And then toddling and talking, getting married, growing up, having jobs, being responsible, being awesome people. That's the next stage, and they are. We were blessed, and Vince got to see that. You know, not everybody sort of gets to see that, but he got to see that the part of him lived on in a beautiful, beautiful way. And that was the one thing, like when him and I met, we knew. I mean, we were like Speed Racer. Because we both were at this stage where he had been married before and he had 2 daughters, but he always wanted more kids. And I wanted a family too. And when we connected, we just knew. And he didn't think, that he was going to find someone to do that with. And I was at the point where I was just like doing my art. What happened, and tired of whatever. Looking for what wasn't there. And sometimes that's just it. It's not there yet. If I had wasted less time thinking about it and just, whatever. As soon as I saw it, I knew it. It's like funny. It's the same thing with being pregnant. It's like, you know. I knew every single time. Before you could supposedly know, I knew. And I knew when I saw him. It's a funny thing. Makes you go and go, what? Why did I even sit there and waste my energy with all those whatever people? Or worry about it? Why? It'll get there when it's supposed to get there. So I gotta figure there's a reason for things. Or it is what it is and you just move forward, I guess. But we definitely felt like we were fated to be together. And now, I am looking towards, I hope, that's just it, I want to live to be an old woman. I want to live and watch my grandchildren grow up. I want to watch my grandbabies maybe have children of their own so that I have great grandbabies. That would be awesome. And I know I'm facing that without Vince. And I still want to do that. I still want to be witness to that, to be a part of that. And so in the early part of my life, when I was filling it up, doing things that I wanted to do then, now I need to fill it up with all these other things that I was thinking about that I wanted to do. A backlog of paintings and put them out there. Get them out there. Release it. Because I'm the only person that can do it. Nobody else is privy to the thoughts in my head, which is probably a positive thing. But been good. One of the things Vince liked to do when we would go around town, he was in construction, and so he'd go around town, and he always liked to say, "Oh, we helped build that. We did this. I did this. Pointing out all the things that he had a hand in helping to build." And that was his way of flirting. It worked on me. That's my kind of flirting. Oh. He always liked to be working on something, building something. Keep busy. Learning things, doing things. He was the type of person, when we first got together, we used to, most mornings we had to go to work. But Sundays were off. Sundays were ours. And so we could stay in bed late and just hang out, make love all day if we wanted to. But we would drink champagne on Sundays and read the paper. And he always did the Sunday New York Times because he liked puzzles that were challenging. And he did it in pen. And he said if he didn't do it in pen, that he would consider that he was cheating. And he just loved doing that. He was good at them too. He was, same thing with Sudoku puzzles. He always did the, super killer, whatever, Sudoku puzzles. His crosswords always, now he knew there were tricks to them and patterns, and I learned some of that through him, which I had never even realized. Being dyslexic, spelling is not my forte. And so, although, like anything, they actually probably would be good for me to do. Because they work your brain to make you sort of do that. Because even though that's a challenge to me, doesn't mean that I can't get better. And it's a fact, because obviously I spell better now than I did when I was in first grade. So, it's possible. It's just all this stuff's been challenging for me. And with spell check and Google, they can guess what I'm spelling if I just think it. It's very scary, a little terrifying. So that's always helpful, though, that have that spelling out there. But doing crosswords and stuff, there's all these tricks and things out there that I didn't even know that you were allowed to do with crossword puzzles that would be in those puzzles. And that was what I found interesting. Just I always thought of crossword puzzles just sort of straightforward, like your word had to fit in there like a Scrabble board, right? But no, they had things where in certain spaces it could be 2 letters or some sort of grouping of letters, or there was all these just little things that I didn't even realize were in crossword puzzles. But Vince had them all down. And it was always kind of funny because I'd sit there and go through it, and every once in a while I would figure it out, but usually he had that down. That was not me. But it was something he did all the time. It wasn't something I did. But I did like reading the comics. I love the comics. Actually, him and I were big fans of the comics. We used to do Calvin and Hobbes, and For Better or Worse was another good one. And There was just lots of comics we used to love. Back in the day, when I started painting, it was the comics that actually did that for me. Like when I started painting, I always drew. I, would do a little bit of painting, but then I went through this when I was 12. I got this painting kit. I don't remember, birthday, Christmas, something. And I started painting these pictures of Garfield, and then selling them to friends and people for, I can't even remember what I sold them for, but I would sell them, and that was the beginning of me doing art for money. In some ways that was bad, I guess, because to me, and I've always said this, like, if I was going to do work, I'd prefer to volunteer, because then I really want to be there. And I have always been someone who's liked to do volunteer. I used to do, I've always had some sort of thing I was going off to do. And I don't know, whatever it was, I just prefer to do that than going off and getting a paycheck. But you need to get a paycheck. That's the unfortunate thing. There's a function in this world. You got to get money. And money's good. Hands down. I'm not arguing. You need money. But it's not the be all and end all. But it can feel that way for sure. And it can be something that gives you freedom, for sure, and security. Do it with health stuff, and you listen to some of the things that are going on out there. And I can't even watch the news right now. Ever since Vince passed, Vince and I used to always watch different news platforms and just reading news, looking at news, politics and stuff like that. I can't do it. I just can't. It's just, I just listen to all that stuff and it just makes me want to puke. Listen to those people now. It wasn't that I couldn't see it before. I saw it before too. And we just, we vented by talking to each other about it. And trying to, work our way through what the facts we could tell were and find our truth in that. And he was just a good partner to sit there and discuss that stuff back and forth. It made it. And so now when I listen to it, it's just, because he would point out things and I would point out things, and it just sort of, it worked. And now it's just me. And so I don't have someone to sort of bounce that stuff off with. So I just listen to it and it's just like, I can't take it. But there's other things I can't either. There's other stuff I can't watch because at the moment, because it just reminds me too much of him. And some of it's stupid stuff. It's not even stuff that was like, just little stuff like that show 13 Ghosts, and the characters Thor and Flower. He used to always joke that was him and I. I just like those characters. He saw, right? He just saw me in a way that no one else had ever seen me. And it's nice to be seen. At least by some people, it's nice. Sometimes it can be creepy, I guess. But sorry, little levity. Sometimes I upload these to YouTube before I even listen to them. Just because that's part of it. I just can't even. I'm just gonna do it as I go, type of thing. It's not about editing it. It's not about whatever. I just the same thing with painting these. It really gives me a perspective of how long it takes me. People always say, "Well, how long did that painting take you?" I don't know. Right? So same thing. I'm sitting here talking about the stuff. Every once in a while, I might have to pause it while I'm talking, so that I can cough or, whatever. But most of the time, I'm just talking. And like I said, when it's done, I upload the video, and I don't even watch it till it's already uploaded, and then I listen to it. Now, I guess I could take it down after that, but I always like, what, never quite sure about everything that I rambled on about. So it's a bit exposing. But like I've said in other videos that there comes a point where you're like, whatever. I'm not, people either watch or you don't watch. It's not really about that. I mean, it's I'm not saying you don't hope that someone will get something out of this, or they won't enjoy it, or they won't like it. But like I said, it's really this personal journey for me. And because I put the videos out and I do this, it kind of makes me accountable for it. Makes me do this stuff. It makes me, okay, I got to put this out there. And then it's helping me become more disciplined. So I do put these videos out again, shorter. When the whole thing's done, I'll sort of put them and speed them up. I do one that's, maybe about 10-15 minutes, depending on the painting. And just like sort of music behind it, and you can just watch that. And then I usually will speed it up even more to about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, or whatever, in the shorts. So there's usually 2 more options if you actually want to watch the progress from beginning to end. I do the slightly longer one because sometimes you can see a little bit more what's actually happening. The fast ones can kind of be a big, gigantic blur. You just see a hand going around and you see the change. But sometimes in the faster ones, but not as fast, you can see a little bit more of that. So I do put out multiple videos of those. So if listening to me rambling on is not your forte, which I completely understand, especially with my occasional tear-filled moment, which, man, I don't know what to tell you. That's just who I am. I will, particularly now, I've always been a big crier, Show me a good sad movie or whatever. And when you're talking to this, it's not like you're really thinking, oh, I'm talking to people. And you do every once in a while, I've gotten some responses, and I really appreciate those responses. But it's a small amount, and that's fine. It's just that when you get those, you do go, oh, someone listened. And sometimes I'll go back and listen, like, what did they listen to? And then I'm like, oh, okay. But it's new to me, and I'm just like the painting, I hope I'll get better on the videos too. But these right here are kind of supposed to be just rough. It's just me painting, without whatever, no pauses, just me painting, a painting session. I do that, and then I do, how many that takes. I tell myself I only have to paint for 5 minutes, but like I said, I always paint longer than that. Shortest I've done is like a 15-minute session, and that's because I completed the painting. And it's more about the discipline, just doing it, like making sure you take your vitamins every day. So these are my painting vitamins. They are helping me with my mental health, because I do not dig mental health pills. So I mean, sometimes you think that would, be helpful, but I just not my gig. And I'm not. If other people need them, that is groovy. Believe me, I'm not judging. It's just usually that stuff just makes me feel nauseous. So that's not very helpful. You feel woozy and nauseous, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think this is better. It's just making me feel So, and that's just the few times I've had to take that something for various things. And I'm grateful that it's only been few and far between. Because if you need to take those things, I feel bad. I'm sorry. Sorry you gotta take them. 'Cause that sucks. And I hope that you can find a way where you're feeling better. My cats are licking me incessantly here. I had all these scratches on my knees from these little guys running around. And then I finally go, I should trim their nails. I trimmed their nails, and now they're finally healing, so thank goodness for that. I don't know what took me so long to figure out trim their nails. I've had kittens before. I don't know. Sometimes the thing that's right in front of you is hardest to see. Yes, I'm talking about you, you little tiny thing. I have one of them right here in my hands. They're good cats. I know not everybody's cat person, but I am an animal person. That just is what it is. I'm hard pressed if you show me an animal that I'm not gonna love it. Not as big on the reptile thing, but not completely opposed. Just, they're not cuddly. I like cuddly. Nice, sweet, cuddly. Chickens aren't that cuddly either, but they make good eggs, and they're yummy. At least my chickens aren't that cuddly. But I started them out free range, and then I had to make them so they weren't free range, because I have a dog that thinks chicken is delicious. And she wasn't here when they were babies. She came as a baby, but they were already grown, and she just, her and chickens don't mix. And she's too big to sit there, and I don't want to worry about her eating my chickens. And it's more that she would want to play with them and freak them out. So that's just a no-go. But I am getting here at the end of the painting. And like I said, I will put these out there a little bit faster. I'll get this one out here tonight, and then I might get the speed up version tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes, because I still have to film the beginning of the next painting tonight. So we'll see how that goes. It's already almost 11. I haven't done any of that. This is what I was telling you about. The time starts kicking in, man. And it's like there just aren't not enough hours in the day. Well, between that and needing sleep. Which is something that is good for you. And I do not always get. I am not the best sleeper in the first place. Me getting 5 hours is like, woohoo! Right? You got a full night's sleep. So when I say, yeah, I go to bed at 2, then I get up at 7, but I don't. I'm constantly up and down and whatever. It's not a, like, I go to sleep and I just am, working on that. And now this new timeline is just screwing with me. But that is okay. I will work with it. It's just a matter of figuring it out. Because I'm kind of enjoying the time to be able to be up late. But I got to figure out the sleep thing. And I got to get healthy. Because this cold is just like beating me down. And I can't do that. I got to get better. I want to feel better. And I want to heal. And get out there. Because I went and tried to mow the lawn this week, one of these days. And it just like, I don't know, my body went, nope. And I got worse for 2 days. But it's okay. I'm going to let myself heal here. Then I will mow the lawn. But I live in Florida, and the grass grows like mega fast. And if you don't mow it, you live in a jungle, which I do. So, and without Vince helping do it, it's out of control. But that's okay. I will get it mowed. I don't mind too much living in a jungle, but I do need it to get a little under control. And I'll work on that. You guys have a great night. And, if you listen, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.